Hey everyone, here I am back again. At this point in the videos, you would have probably recognized that I am focused on your health and you, but the inner you this time around this week. So on that topic, here I am again with another video. Now, today I'm going to tell you that in Nigeria, if you feel that you're somewhat depressed and you tell someone, they might say, just pray about it. It's not that deep. You still have your limbs intact. You woke up today. You live to see another day. But mental health is actually very real, okay? And it's about time we start talking about it and regarding the confusions on it. So, one of the reasons why people may not take it seriously, I personally feel, is that people come up with their own half-baked definition for mental health. So today, let's start with that at least. Mental health is actually a wide range of conditions that affects your mood, thinking, and behavior. Okay? Very simple definition. But somehow along the way, people lose track and mix a bunch of things in there, and I don't know why, and I don't know how. So let me go into one of the reasons or why mental health may not be taken seriously from a Nigerian perspective. Number one is cultural beliefs. Majority of our population seem to still think that mental health is more of a spiritual problem rather than a medical problem. And I don't know why, but we thank God in recent times, that's why I'm making videos like this, to spread that awareness that it is in fact a medical problem. Number two is fear of being judged. Now, as a whole, Nigeria is a very, very judgmental society because we are still somewhat conservative and we have a stubborn bunch of people that don't want to let it go. So people actually fear being called mad when they say they have mental illness or weak, right? Because apparently if you show vulnerability or you say, I'm struggling mentally, people are like, you're on the verge of being one of those people that roam on the streets and eat stuff on the floor, or you were just not cut out for life, you know, where they start telling you the strong survive and the weak get eaten and killed. It goes back to our society having this dog eat dog somewhat mentality embedded so deep into us, and these are the things that are actively fighting against mental illness awareness. But hey, so that's that. People just fear being called all of those things and admitting they struggle with stuff like that. Number three is lack of awareness. Now, this was why I brought up the definition of mental illness, because this is it. Lack of awareness means that many people don't actually know that mental illness can be treated with therapy and medication. It is not a death sentence. That's the way some people see it. It can actually be treated. Like I said, therapy and medication, all you have to do is acknowledge that you do in fact have a problem and you do need help, and then maybe your next step is finding resources that can help you. So millions of Nigerians actually suffer from, these are the common ones that we suffer from, but there's many more: depression, anxiety, and PTSD. Now, depression actually can be broken down into two so far that we know about. You've got seasonal depression and then you've got clinical depression. The difference between these two: clinical depression is like ever present. It doesn't leave you alone. You go from a really thunderstorm sort of visual in your mind to a mildly cloudy day when we're dealing with clinical depression. And seasonal depression means that, let's say, we have 12 months around the year. Let's say between January to March, that is when your depressive episodes usually start. That's when you lose interest and the zeal to do anything, right? And for you, it's like clockwork. You suffered it in 2025, 2026, that same March, that same January to March or April, you are still going to suffer it again, and then 2027 you suffer it again. So that is what we call seasonal depression, right? Now, On the topic of anxiety, like I said, we live in a very unstable country, so this builds about that fear, and anxiety is just being consumed by that fear and worry, and now changing yourself, your personality, and your behavior to suit that fear and that worry that is consuming and plaguing your mind. And most Nigerians are dealing with this. Then we've got PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, this one is common because this has to do with you not fully healing or recovering from a very traumatic event in your life. In a country like ours, where majority of people are usually kidnapped or exposed to domestic violence, rape, and so on and so forth, all of these things are very traumatizing experiences for people, and a lot of them are still, they just can't get past this. So like I said, there were other forms of mental illnesses that are common, but the ones I just finished describing are the ones that we see generally in the Nigerian population, at least the working class population and the youth. So the next ones that I've got for you is dementia and schizophrenia. Now, dementia and schizophrenia are common as you age. These ones are usually found in, unfortunately, our aging parents, our grandmas and our great grandmas and those people, right? But I'd like to also point out that mental illness does not have an exact age in which it chooses to attack a person. It can start from really young or it can start really later in life. It does not have an exact age, so bear in mind. That's why I'm bringing it to light here. So that brings me to the next one. We've got OCD, which is OCD has to do with compulsive disorder, right? And then we have ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And then we've got bipolar. These are just the common ones that we hear every day around the world. But these ones, we don't yet have a large demographic of them being represented in Nigeria at the moment, except for maybe dementia and schizophrenia, like I said, but it's usually more common in the elderly. Anyway, but without, one thing that all of these conditions have in common is that without support, they actually get worse, okay? So we can change this by talking about mental illness openly, encouraging therapy instead of stigma and beratement. When I say beratement, it's just basically meaning like we do not see someone who struggles with mental health and then you want to help them by maybe yelling at them saying, are you depressed? Are you sad? You know, when you come with that type of emotion towards the person, that's like a tiny bit of beratement. The person is obviously not going to take you seriously, or maybe in your conversations they always hear you mock mental illness and be like, oh, mental illness, that's nothing. People are just making it up these days. Everybody is a wimp up and down the place. Everybody just is crying. Things like that are what I mean when I say beratement. So let's try and limit such behaviors. That way, mental illness can actually be dealt with, okay? And the third way in which you can change this is by kindly noticing and consistently supporting loved ones who are struggling. Like I said in the previous point, beratement prevents you from kindly noticing that a loved one is struggling with something. When I say kindly noticing, you look at them and say, hey, you've been feeling a little down. I usually know you to be this type of person. What's going on with your life? Just openly tell me what is running through your head. I will not judge, okay? We listen, we do not judge. That is what you need to apply here. But anyway, mental health at the end of the day is as important as physical health. More people need to know this because the mind and the body and the soul all need to work together to form a functional human being. We cannot only perfect the physical and then neglect the mental and then take care of the soul spiritually, and you are just walking like a zombie. You are incomplete. You are missing body parts. That's what it is. So if you are struggling and you see this video today, I urge you to please seek help. I know it can be tough because when you are struggling with mental illnesses, you have been sort of conditioned to not seek help. That seeking help means you're going to be taken advantage of, you're going to be manipulated, or you're going to be ridiculed and insulted. But please do seek help, okay? You really need it. seek help, just, or at least if you cannot seek help, just pray for that ability that if authentic help comes around, be open to receiving it, please. So for the people who actually, you know someone and they need support, then I'm going to encourage you today to be patient with them so that we can break the stigma step by step. So with that, that concludes my video today. I hope that this topic really educated you and it really touched you deep in your soul. If you like this video and you know someone, maybe share it to them, and don't forget to hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and we will see you next time. Bye.